Okay, we're moving on with our percent unit, and we are going today estimate percent. That's our learning goal. You are going to be able to estimate a percent. It's not here, but it's aligned with this learning target. I use this all the time. When I go shopping, I always utilize 20%, 10%, and I'll show you how I quickly do it. Okay, estimating, your goal when you estimate is benchmark to 10%. Cloud the 10. It's very important. Your goal is to benchmark it to 10%. 10% is moving a decimal one spot to the left. That's what 10% is. 10% is moving a decimal to the left. For example, 10% of 1440 is 1.44. Okay?
Zero.
Well, but it's money. Money is only two spots. And you didn't know that, but now you do, because I put a dollar sign. 10% of 3.2 is going to be 0.32. So 10% is just moving the decimal. 10% of 12, where's the decimal on the 12?
On the right backwards.
Yeah, so 10% is 1.2. 10% of 50 is just 5. If there's a 0, you take one of them away. So 10% is moving one spot to the left, or take a 0 away. Take a 0 away. That's the two ways to find 10%. Okay, so I kind of looking at this, it looks a little on the confusing side, so I want to be able to let myself know. I did 1440, 10% of 1440 is the 1.44. 3.2, 10% of 3.2 is 0.32. 12, 10% of 12 is 1.2. And 50, 10% of 50 is 5. So finding 10% is just moving the decimal one to the left or taking a 0 away. You got it? Okay. So now that I know how to do 10%, I can calculate 20, 30, 25, 15, and I'll show you how. 20% of 32. Here's how I do it. I figure out 10%. What's 10% of 32? 3.2. Move the decimal one to the right. 3.2. Do you see that? 10% is 3.2. I meant one to the left. I just realized I said to the right. 20% then is double the 10%. What's double 3.2? 6.4. Done. You could, if you don't like mental math, you could use the is over up. I don't ever use that. I don't go to Target and write down a proportion. I use, that would be funny, wouldn't it? If I just had a whiteboard in my purse, like, wait, I need to figure this out. I always use mental math. 5% of 34. So I first benchmark it to 10%. So what's 10% of 34? 3.4. Yep. Move the decimal one to the left. 5 then would be half of that 10. So what's half of 3.4?
1.7.
1.7. Got it? So 5% is 1.7. 15% of 16. I'm going to benchmark it to 10%. So what's 10% of 16? 1.6. Move it one to the left. 10% is 1.6. 5% is half of 1.6. So that's 0.8. And then to find 15, you just add it. It's the 10% plus the 5%, which is what? For 240? Oh, I don't know that it's money. So 15% is 2.4. Okay, so using this strategy, we're going to find 30% of 42. So I benchmark it to 10. 10% is 4.2. Do you see why? The decimal's right here, move it 1 to the left. So 30% is just 3 of them. 4.2 times 3. So 30% is going to be 12.6. And I did that in my head. I multiplied it by 3. So I went 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. And I knew only one spot to the right. And that's our learning target today, is to be able to quickly find percents using mental math.